President, were you aware that Secretary of Commerce visited Epstein's island, and do you continue to have?
No, I wasn't aware of it. No, I didn't. I actually haven't spoken to him about it. I wasn't. But from what I hear, he was there with his wife and children. And I guess in some cases, some people were. I wasn't. I was never there. Somebody will someday say that. I was never there.
Thank you. Chair Moran, Ranking Member Van Hollen. Secretary, we're here to talk today about the BEAD program. Delaware is the lowest mean elevation state in America and one of the flattest states in the whole country, so delivery of broadband hasn't faced any of the challenges or complications in more rural and mountainous states. And my comments on BEAD are simple. The plan for Delaware has been approved. It's moving forward quickly, and I think this is overall for my state a success that came out of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So since I've got the Secretary of Commerce in front of me, I'm going to touch on IP, AI chips, and tariffs, if I might, in the few minutes we have. I am impressed with Director Squire's leadership of the Patent and Trademark Office. I voted for him, and his efforts to restore the PTAB process to what Congress intended in the American Invents Act, a faster, cheaper alternative to going to district court. I support. I led a bicameral, bipartisan letter in support of his regulatory efforts, and I'd urge you and the administration to support my Prevail Act with Senator Tillis so we can codify legislatively what Director Squires is trying to do with regulation, but could be reversed by the next director. I am very concerned, though, with reports that you're considering a value-based patent tax that would charge inventors different fees based on the PTO's valuation. As a holder yourself of hundreds of patents, I found this puzzling. It is very complex and difficult to value a patent. I was in-house counsel to a global company that had a very large patent estate, and figuring out how we would administer our patent system and potentially impose a crushing tax on American innovation, something no other major country does, struck me as puzzling. The IP community never agrees. I mean, literally from small inventors to big tech, they agree on this, that this proposal would be a real negative. So could you just update me on whether or not the consideration of a value-based patent fee system is live, and how it would roll out if so, and how you would avoid harming innovation?
We will avoid harming innovation by not doing a valuation or any valuation fee or tax on patents.
Good.
That is not a plan. That is not going anywhere. We are totally on side. That is not a thing the Patent Office is going to do, is try to say this patent is worth X. How in the world could we do that? How in the world could anyone reasonably do that?
It struck me as a completely unworkable proposal.
We are on the same side with that.
So let's move ahead with the defining technology of this century, which is artificial intelligence. The NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, said on CNBC recently, if U.S. AI companies could have twice as much compute, their revenues would go up 4 times. These guys are so compute constrained, the demand is so incredibly great, he went on. I couldn't agree more with Jensen on this. NVIDIA's own CEO admitting that while they're making as many chips as they can, they are unable to fill the dramatic levels of demand from American companies like Anthropic or OpenAI or Google. And in that context, I was glad to see your department issue regulations January 13th that said Commerce would not grant licenses for chip sales, particularly these advanced AI chip sales, to China if that export would delay NVIDIA's ability to meet U.S. demand. Just to be clear, you're committed to not exporting AI chips to China until our own world-class American firms agree they have all the chips they need per the terms of that regulation. Is that what you're intending?
I think you should be just do a little detail. So NVIDIA does not make chips, it designs chips.
I know.
Right, and they are primarily made in Taiwan.
Correct.
Right, so we agree the demand by American firms is vast for these chips, and we don't want to do anything that stands in their way.
Good, because I think selling AI chips to Chinese companies, allowing the licensure of the sale of AI chips to Chinese companies like DeepSeek or Tencent, which DoD's classified as a Chinese military company, would dramatically harm our national security interests. Last, the cost of housing is one of the things I hear about the most from Delawareans. President Trump ran on lowering folks' costs, and the cost of housing is not going down. We need to build millions more homes, and the home building boom we need is in part not happening because of tariffs on lumber, drywall, kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities. I think the home builders estimate they're raising the cost of a new home by more than $17,000. Would you support legislation to temporarily halt or provide for a tariff exemption process for specific tariffs on home building supplies?
It's a broad, complex issue. If we want to make furniture in America, you have to protect furniture makers. That type of question is a very detailed and complex one and worthy of discussion, and I'm glad to sit with you in your office to talk about it. What do we want to make in America? And whatever we don't want to make in America, we should try to do inexpensively to the extent we can.
Well, thank you. I look forward to the conversation. My concern is that overwhelmingly the supply of things like softwood lumber from Canada and a wallboard or gypsum board from Mexico are being constrained by tariffs. These are close allies that work with us through the USMCA framework. They've pushed back hard on the tariffs that are being imposed on their products that are exported into our market. Canada is the largest export market for most American states. I think at a time when there's very little we can actually do in the short term to reduce the cost of housing, this is something we might work together on. Last, a closing comment, if I might, Mr. Secretary. Senator Van Hollen asked about your engagements with your former neighbor, Mr. Epstein. I was encouraged to see your declaration that in 2005 you concluded he was a disgusting man with whom you should have no contact. I wish many others reached that conclusion upon meeting him. But it troubles me that you took your family to lunch on his island, that you had appointments with him. Please disclose everything. Put this to rest, because this is an issue of grave concern to my constituents. President Trump ran on releasing the Epstein files. You said casually, well, I looked at my name and how it appeared in them, as does everyone. No, everyone isn't worried about their names being in the Epstein files. I know he was your neighbor. That was a coincidence. But please disclose everything that's relevant here so that we have a chance to work together and move on.
To the best of my memory, I met him when he moved next door to me, and I met him 2 other times in 14 years, none within 6 years of that first meeting, and then a year and a half later, and none thereafter. And in the presence of my wife, and as Senator Van Hollen said, under no circumstances is there a single word that I've done anything remotely wrong in any possible regard. I did not have anything you could call a relationship, anything you could call an acquaintance. I literally met him 3 times over 14 years with widespread in between. That's all I can remember. That's all there is in the documents. I didn't look through the documents with any fear whatsoever, because I know, and my wife knows, that I have done absolutely nothing wrong in any possible regard.
Thank you for answering our questions.